I'm putting a thing up on my Facebook too. So,
All right. Welcome to the TuracoCreativeCast. We are live and we have a special guest tonight. Before we get into that, just want to let you know who we are. I'm Frank Salazar. This is the TuracoCreativeCast. And you might be wondering why we're going live on Mondays. This is now our new night and our new time. So Monday nights at 9 p.m. Central. And I'm here with Anna Raub. And Anna, just tell us a little bit about what you've been up to.
Hi, I'm Mask Woman, aka Anna Raub. I've been doing a lot of kind of storyboarding and thumbnail sketches and writing the script so that I can wrap up the N-Star Arrival project, which honestly I probably have a few more months to undergo. But having a great time doing that, and I'll be updating some more in the Instagram, which is Anna Raub Arts, and you can find me on YouTube at Anna Raub on YouTube. There's also a link tree.
Yeah.
To art. And we got a special guest.
And
there it is.
cool.
Feel free to check out our special guest.
Yeah, that's the TuracoCreativeCast link tree. You can find my stuff on there. You can find Anna's stuff on there. And who is our special guest today, Anna?
Jared Brown.
it is. It's me.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Jared Brown is the creator of Advent Dark, and you want to tell us a little bit about that, Jared, and what you're here to promote.
Well, it's a second book in a series. It's going to be one of I've got 4 planned out here for the immediate future, so I'm about halfway through. We got a live Kickstarter going on right now, so it runs to the end of the month. Lots of cool stuff. I've got bookmarks, buttons, magnets, some prints, original art, things like that added in just for a little fun, but rounds it out. Yeah. If you like sci-fi, it's kind of a Hellboy meets Men in Black, I guess, if you were going to describe it.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah. So, fleshing it out, I can't get you get a little bit of a mystique to characters, storyline stuff. So I give enough, but not enough right away. I want people to look at it and it's like, what's going on? Who is this person? Why is this happening? You want them to stick around. So that's the whole thing. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
and this is issue 2. Is there a way that you can get issue 1, or is there a tier in the Kickstarter where you can get the first one too? Or
there is. I do. I added in a digital and a actual physical tier. It's called Late to the Party. So if you do go in and get that one, you can get the issue 1, and it's the base cover A for that. So if you're behind, you can catch up picking that one up, and lots of add-ons you can throw onto stuff like that too. So you don't get limited to just those if you don't want to get just that. But yeah.
Okay.
Yep, not too bad.
Cool. I saw. I was reading issue 1, and I was getting Men in Black vibes from it. So.
Well, it's my God. It started in. I started the whole thing in '94. Just you're in art class and you're like, you're coming up with ideas and stuff. What it really jumped for me was if you remember. Image Comics, when they came out in the beginning, they had Gen 13, Pit, Wildcats, all that stuff. Like, it was a huge explosion of stuff. The 90s were a lot of fun. That group of guys, the creators, they busted out of Marvel, DC, all the different places, went over and created that. And I remember Pit was like one of the ones that really hit. And I love the whole government agency and messing around with alien DNA and stuff. So I started creating a character, and it was the whole Area 51 connection. Basically, you're watching the X-Files at that time. You're reading those kind of comics. Those kind of movies are out, and at the same time you like the big muscles and guns and shoulder pads and everything else in that time period of comics. So I started to create this, and after a while I kind of just let it slide, didn't really come back to it, enjoyed the characters, whatever. And then a couple of years ago I started kind of revisiting it, and I thought, well, maybe I'll start messing with it again. So I started to build it up, but I didn't really get too crazy with it. Well, the storyline I had ended up becoming too similar to Marvel. They were running the Inhumans at the time, and there was this Inhuman gas cloud that was floating around, and it was converting people over into half Inhuman, full Inhuman, partial. I had something similar in my secondary story, so I'm like, well, that's not going to work now either, because they've already got it out and I'm still back here messing around. So I had to take it out back and beat it and bring it back in completely revamped and brand new. And that's where we're at right now. So that's the long and short of it.
Those are fun experiences when you have to redo the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you hate what you created, but you like where your thought processes were. So it's like, okay, so maybe I come back. We'll fine tune this. Like my main character, Danny, is actually a combination. She was originally green and not plant-based, but her body, like her arms and everything would kind of unravel and then go back together, and she could make stabbing weapons. She had this bioplasma discharge she would use so she could make her hands into different weapons to fire lasers, whatever she wanted to do. And then I had the main character. He was gray with the purple hair and stuff like. He was the main character, and at the end of it, I was like, I took the two of them and mashed them together, and tossed another character completely. He's gone. So, yeah. But I've actually I've had some ideas for that old character. I might come back around to it later. I've got a whole slew of ideas I'm sitting on, so I actually can't wait to get those out on paper.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But
it's fascinating to look back and see how the characters developed over time, and kind of seeing how you can combine characters sometimes to end up with something completely different in the end. I've seen that in some of my writing too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. And not a writer, so all my stuff has been basically I use a lot of music to create the stuff in my the scenes, the layouts, things like that. It's like, what music would go best with this? How would it and it's kind of just moves you along. But I don't write. I don't write dialogue. I don't do stuff like that. You end up coming out. It always comes out a little hokey. And that's where I created the zero. I actually have a zero issue. It's only 12 pages. It's got bios in the back. It was a first run. It was a first try. I wrote it. Not super great, but I did have a friend of mine, Shell. She ended up running into me at a show. Her and her husband were there and ended up becoming friends with them. And she read it and she said, "Would you let me write the whole thing?" I said, "Absolutely," because I can't, So she went through and did it, and I absolutely loved it. So we were back and forth on issue 1, got it done. I finished off all the art, and that was my first Kickstarter. So, hi there.
Nice, that's cool. Yeah, because I was reading the first issue, the PDF, and I saw Shell's name on there. So that's cool.
Yeah. She did a really nice job with it, and just she would have been on board for the rest, but projects, everything else, it's like kids, it takes precedence, which I get it. So, I was kind of stuck in limbo there. I had partial written, like I think we've got 17 pages or something into issue 2, and she was like, "I'm sorry, I just can't, I can kind of fix it up for you." And I'm like, "It's all right." So I talked to a friend of mine who's also a big writer, Johnny C., and he's got a couple books under his belt. So he stepped up and basically rewrote the whole thing, still in the same spirit and everything, because I already had pages done, and we did some alterations and whatnot, and I think it turned out really well. I was very excited about it, getting it all finished up. So
Fascinating.
yeah, so he saved me there big time.
What's it kind of been like
Oh.
collaboratively working with multiple people?
It's good. I mean, it's tough because everybody's got a full-time job, they got a full-time household.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't have kids. So for me, like, I have more free time. I don't have as much going on with that aspect, but I mean, those that do, it can really be tough trying to sync up schedules and everything, especially if it's not the only thing you're working on.
Yeah.
So all of our work is done in, I guess you call it free time, or you're up till 2 o'clock in the morning. If you want to get it done, you got to be up.
Mm-hmm.
You're dragging at work the next day, but you've got the work done. So, and you feel good about it.
Sacrifices for the craft.
Absolutely. And lots of coffee. Yeah. You're sitting there, you're working, you're like, what time is it? Oh God, I gotta go to bed.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, nope.
That's
Lots of nights like that.
Been there. I've had
Yep.
nights where my alarm goes out to wake up and I haven't gone to bed. So.
Oh wow. No, I haven't hit that bad yet. But I have to get up at 7, and I've been there where it's like 2:30, coming up on 3 o'clock, and you're like, okay. It's like I at least got to get 4 hours in. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, if you want to get anywhere, this is where you put the work in. You can't be done it. It's like, well, I want to play a video game or I want to watch a movie, and sometimes you do. You have to break off a little.
Yeah.
You can't. Yeah, you got to make a little bit of time for yourself, but you can't too much, because then 2 days go by, 3 days, and you're like, then you're running to catch up again. So, yeah, got to keep on it.
Yeah. Both Anna and I are doing the 100 Days of Making Comics challenge, and part of it is getting at least 30 minutes done a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I do more, and I know Anna does more, but there's been those times where, like, just getting those 30 minutes can be a challenge. But
Yeah, yes, it can. Yeah, and it's not an on-off switch either. Some people are like, "Well, you just sit down and draw." It's like, no, you don't just sit down and draw. Some can, and I envy them very much. But I mean, everyone's got a dead zone there. They got that moment when it's like you've been there for 2 hours, you got a pile of crumpled up paper next to you, and you kind of just want to jump out the window. So, yeah, those are the rough days. And especially when you're trying to get something done, and it's like, look, I've got today to work, and I can't work, and that's not really, which is a shame.
I'm sure it doesn't help with all people necessarily, but with myself, I found that it helps to have multiple projects going, because I'm a productive procrastinator, and so I get stuck doing anything but the thing I'm supposed to be doing, but usually that's something like cleaning or working on a separate project or sending an email.
Yep. You got to back away from it a little bit. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had this one thing where I do, if you're having a bad day drawing, it's like, okay, this isn't working, so let's try something else. So you pick 3 subjects, something random, a raccoon, a chair, and let's say a 10-gallon hat. And you just put 3 items together and you try to create something out of those 3 random things. And sometimes they'll just shake you loose and you'll be like, okay, it's like a warm up. You got to stretch a little bit before you do your workout. So, but it has helped many times. I've done stuff like that, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just getting your brain working. So,
right.
Yep.
Even 20-second drawings of gestures are a pretty common workout per se.
Yep, absolutely. Eyes, hands, not so much. Hands are evil. Even Da Vinci hated hands. It was always easy. That was another big influence, was gargoyles. Love the gargoyles. I was 94, so same kind of time with Image and everything, Gargoyles, and that was where the second story, it was world spanning. I had them going all over the world, meeting different people. Like at the time in that story, the world had kind of fallen apart. Like I had a giant citadel in the Midwest of the United States. All the outlying areas were kind of a Mad Max zone, whereas the citadel was like the center of that landmass now. And then you went down to the Caribbean, and there were pirates and ships with like cogwheel stuff. Like I'd actually wanted to design one that was like Johnny Depp, but he was like all clockwork. So every time he'd he'd make a weird face, like all the little cogs would start going really quick in his face. I mean, and Gargoyles was always the big one for that, because I loved how they went all over the world. They visited different cultures and their beliefs and their superstitions and their old stories. Like Greg Weisman, one heck of a job writing that, kind of putting stuff together like that. He really made for some good storytelling. And again, it was a great big influence for me. So like the early to mid 90s were really a good time for that stuff. Everything was just exploding.
Mm-hmm.
So
really like it when it's filled with lore. You can you have this open world to explore with all kinds of adventures that you can take when you have that much of a world developed.
Yep.
Yeah,
it is.
Anna and I are we're collaborating on a side project, and I've mentioned it before. Well, it's actually based on our personas here. Like I wear goggles and she wears a mask, and so it's Captain Goggles and Masked Woman, and we were talking about like how we just kind of want to set it up a little bit, but like the world is so vast and that you can go in any direction. We can explore this part of this world. We can explore that part of the world. So it doesn't always have to be the main characters. You can just branch off and just tell a different story within that same world. So that it's something we want to play around with a little bit more. And,
yeah.
Dale says hands and feet are tough. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, they are. Yeah, I always cheated because I would use the gargoyle, they always had the pointy fingers. I'll tell you what, that was like some of the easiest hands to draw, because you didn't have to get too detail oriented. It was just a pokey triangle of a hand, clawed, very simple. But yeah, you can get sidetracked on characters and their worlds and stuff. I mean, like with mine, I've got the main crew right now, and I've already got ideas for like another whole team under the same division that they're in, but they're in a completely different spot. I want to tell their stories already, but you can't. You have to wait to get through everything else.
Yeah.
Before you can get to, you gotta be patient to open your presents, and that's kind of what I'm hoping here with this book. You read the first 4, and I really would like people to look at it and be like, okay, that was fun. What's going to go on next? Like, what's happening? Who's coming? Who's this? Who's that? And that's, I mean, it's good storytelling. If you give everything away right away, then why would anybody come back? Or why would they, I like a little mystery.
Exactly.
So, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. So I took 2 of those suggestions that you just threw out, the raccoon and the Tinkerling hat. And so I quickly sketched this.
Yeah, there you go.
There.
Yeah.
Just very rough, but loosens up the hand. That's our new mascot.
Yep, we're gonna switch it from a Turaco to a hat.
It's
that'll work. Yeah, that's just a little fun little exercise to get you to work your muscles a bit. Yeah. So.
So yeah, we're talking about the tiers, and you mentioned the cards. and the bookmarks. You had shown me some of the cards last time. Can you talk about those a little bit?
Yeah, I created I don't know if anybody or how many people had created again a 90s thing, and I feel like it's starting to build a nostalgia again. There's been a very big influx of trading card fever for whatever reason, but I love it. And the Marvel Series 3 was always like my favorite set that I got. Like, it just, that was the one I was learning to draw off of. There were all these cool characters I hadn't even learned of yet. And it always kind of stuck with me. And I thought, well, for this Kickstarter, I'd like to come up with something a little different, a little more fun. I thought, well, I'll take the main characters and we'll give them the treatment for the Marvel Series 3. I've got one here. This one isn't of any of my crew, but this is a friend of mine. She does this persona online. So I ended up doing, let's see which way to go here. I can get to figure that out. But we started doing, like, I just did one for her just for fun. And then on the back, you get all their little info, their power bars, all that cool stuff that they used to have back in the day. So, I mean, everyone used to get a kick out of that stuff. And it was always fun to sit there and see who was stronger, who had this, who had that. It was just fun. But I wanted to make something. I've got one more for the set. I found it's very tough to get holographic cards made. So what I did was I went through my sticker people, and I actually have a special hologram prismatic card that's going to be part of the set, because they always had those in the packs too. You'd open a pack and there'd be a hologram card, and you'd like lose your mind because you finally got one. So just that old fun that I'd like to see come back. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, not too bad.
Fancy.
So, a little bit. I am a little fancy. Yeah.
I had done this one, so it's a Captain Goggles sketch card.
Nice.
And we also have a mask.
It's a good one. I like that. Yeah. That's what I ended up doing. I got I got the new printer, and I don't think I have any printed out right now that are at least within range of me anyway. But I have sketch cards actually printed out with logos, a little border design, and then on the back there's signature area, stuff like that. So, and like for everybody, they will get a sketch card that put it in their tier, and it will be original art. It will be the only one you have. So there's that, where you get that nice your own special card to keep. And things like that are fun. I think it's a lot of fun. It's nice to have them. So yeah, but trading cards are a good time. They're small.
Oh yeah.
Easy to store. You can have a ton of them and still not even know they're there if they're in a binder. So yeah. Yep. Yeah, there you go.
Collection.
It's funny too. I have an entire stack of, like, this is everything. Where are we on here? There. Like, those are all cards I still have to do yet. It's ridiculous, the amount, because every time I cut Bristol up, whatever scraps I have, if I can measure it out into a trading card, it gets put over here in the pile. So as things go, yeah, I've burned through so many of them throughout the years at the shows that there's always somebody coming by and they want a couple of trading cards I would take home with them, because it's just something you can put in your pocket. It's fun. So
right.
Yeah.
A nifty kind of little piece of art that you can enjoy.
Yeah, you can put it in
Judd
thank
says
you, Judd.
Issue 1 was cool, and looking forward to issue 2.
I appreciate that. I'm very glad you enjoyed it.
And we have Del A in the chats, and speaking of bookmarks, also, he designed this bookmark. He sent me a few of them.
Nice. Oh, those are good.
It says make comics and excuses.
There you go. That's it.
So we got
That's where we're at right now too. So many people making books, so many cool things out there and I like the crowdfunding in a sense that we're kind of circumventing the big companies. The big companies dictate, can you do this? Can you do that? can we make this? You're not allowed to make that. It's like, well, let's leave it up to everyone else to figure out what they want. As long as it's decent, you're not being hateful, you're not being awful. I mean, everyone's entitled to make what they want, but the whole goal is to make good comics for everybody. Everybody loves to read stuff. There you go.
Make comics, not excuses.
How many people have great ideas and they can't bust through to Marvel or Image or any of those other places, but they've got a great story to tell. They've got great artwork, and it's like, well, I want to read it. So if that's a chance, even if you look at it, it's like, well, is it a good story? Maybe, but it's out there. They got it done, and it's something to read, and it's not for everybody, but then you're always going to find somebody that loves your work. So, you'd never know if you didn't try.
Yeah.
Well, there's an audience for pretty much anything.
Yeah, we found that out. There's some good, there's some bad.
Mm-hmm.
You come across like, why is there an audience for this? Well, what was that one? It was called Homestuck, I think. That I did drawings of that for the longest time. They'd come in all cosplayed up, and I'm like, what is this? What's with the bucket? And then they explained the bucket to me. I'm like, no, don't explain any more to me, please. It's like, can you draw me with my bucket? I was like, I don't want to. But yeah, I mean, to each their own. Everybody loves something. So
was that a cartoon or something, or
what did they tout it as? It was the most awful thing ever, and to hate it actually made it cool to hate it, which in turn made everybody love it. They loved to hate it, and by loving to hate it, it became popular. I think was the whole idea behind that one, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
I'm only familiar with it through old internet memes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It mercifully it faded. Yeah. That one kind of floated away. And like I was talking about earlier, before we got on here, the minions. So many minions I have drawn. Like the 1 year that's all my sketch or my sketch card binder was completely packed and empty. But I remember the one show I went through the entire binder was empty because everybody had picked up all these minion cards, and I couldn't understand it. But I'm like, hey, if that's what you want, you got it. Some lady, she wanted to be a female minion drunk in a giant mug of beer.
Wow.
And so I mean, okay. I said, no problem. We'll draw you a minion and a bottle of beer. So, yeah.
Okay.
If that has a shot, then why not give your story a shot? You might have an audience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the most fun I did one that was it was the Nightmare Before Christmas, so I actually did a Sally, Jack, and I think a Boogeyman as minions.
Ooh.
And I tried to do a Zero. Zero wouldn't really translate over well into a minion, so he just was Zero. But that was actually a really fun set, and I did if you're familiar with Supernatural, most are. I actually have a Sam, Dean, and Castiel minion.
As minions.
And like it's funny as I made Sam, he's the much taller minion with one eye. And then I got Dean with a pie. And then I've got Castiel, he's got the coat on and everything. He's just the confused look on his face that he always had throughout the show. But they were fun for what they were at the time. Yeah, but I'm kind of glad they're made their way out. So yeah.
Actually, on that note, I don't think the minions are done. How about you draw Mask Woman and Captain Goggles as
Could do it. That'd be fun. See, I think it's fun like once in a while. I think they're very versatile. They can be anything. Kind of like the Funko Pop figures. They can be anything. And it just works. So, yeah, absolutely. I could do that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So speaking of art, I heard earlier, while first meeting you, that you didn't initially set out to create a comic book and publish it.
I did not know.
Led you on that path.
Well, I guess the 94 story was me being, over excited about it, and then it was like, I don't want to draw 24 pages over and over and over and all this stuff. And I was like, no, I just want to draw pinups and just standalones.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like that even after I got through the second redesign of the story. I still was kind of at that point where I'm like, I just don't have the time. I got a little lazy. I'm like, no, I don't really. I mean, I had actually drawn out I have a full comic drawn out for that second story, and it's god awful. It is. It's really bad, but I always held on to it, and I still have it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was at Baltimore a couple years ago, and I remember everybody kept coming up, and they're just going down the line, and they'd stop and they go, "What book are you working on?" And I kind of looked at him, I'm like, "I'm not working on a book." He's like, "Oh," he goes, "Man, you should be working on a book." And okay. Another person comes through, same question. Here there was like this strange boom of people just collecting indie books. Like they were just trying to grab everybody they could. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm making a book. So I went back around, I picked up that story, and then that's about the time the Inhuman storyline came through Marvel. And I'm like, so now we're going back to the drawing board entirely. And I pulled some of the old story from the first one and moved it up to the new one, and I kind of mixed the whole. That's where I just combined everything and started reforming the whole mythos, and it started to flow, and I was like, oh man, this is actually kind of fun. And then I got more ideas, and I'm like, holy crap, I want to get through this just so I can get over to this one, because this is going to be even more fun than the first story. And that's where I'm at right now. I think I've got, like I said, between 4 and 5 volumes of story in my head. I'm running the whole. I love how Mignola always had. It was either one standalone issue, it was one page, or it was 3 issues and he was done, but it was in a consecutive order. And the idea of drawing 1 through 25 or 1 through 100 just sounded terribly exhausting. But drawing 1 through 4. Or drawing 1 through 5. That is, I feel like that's a more attainable goal. And I think definitely the next round I'm going to find somebody for coloring. I'd like to find somebody for lettering, just to alleviate some of the time. If I can just work on lines, that would move everything a lot faster. So, yeah. And my writer's already he wants to do a zombie one shot with the Bobs. And I've kind of explained they've got their little bios and everything, but they're essentially like all synthetic androids that are all connected by one brain, but they are kind of organic. So he wants to do this one-shot zombie thing where one of them becomes infected and starts like spreading through the other Bobs, just as like a fun little issue. So I mean, we've already got side stuff like that thought up. So yeah, there's all kinds of possibilities, and I really enjoy it.
Cool.
Yeah. So we'll see how.
Kind of like a storyboard artist?
Who?
So does that kind of make you a storyboard artist if you're just kind of drawing the lines, or the penciler?
No, just a penciler is all it is. I mean, I work a lot on the tablet now. I don't do as much. Like a lot of the time, I'll just it's a really rough, very rough doodle. See if I've got anything lying around. Yeah, here's like one here. It never made it. This is a Wyatt and his bear. You can see it's kind of way to go back that way. It's a little tough to. You can see there he is.
Okay.
So it's like you get like that. That's a quick doodle. Those are I call them my notes. I have stacks and stacks and ridiculous stacks of notes sitting here. And if I really like that sketch, I will scan it and then I'll bring it into my tablet and I'll start going over it. I'll redoodle it out digitally and then I'll start tightening it up. So, yep. There you go.
Here's my doodle.
Yep. Now, you're not drawing right on that though. You've got that little thing laying on the desk, don't you? To draw on.
I have this.
like a trackpad or I can't do that. I tried it
That
and
takes
I can't.
special skill.
Yeah, I don't know how you're doing that. I cannot get. I used to draw with a mouse. I mean, that's how bad it was because I would just draw with the mouse, and then I figured out I could draw stuff and scan it in. So I had to go. I went with a Wacom. God, 12 years ago, something. No, I'm sorry, 8 years ago. It was 8 years ago, and I'm still using it. This thing is solid, still running, and I'll tell you, it was the best thing I ever bought. I love it. Totally changed my work, the way I did things. I got better with it. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still love doing markers and everything. I think that's always a good time. But speed and everything else. That's why I said I don't have a lot of. I have some pages, but to have 24 pages of original art, no, I don't. No, don't have it. Which I know a lot of people, they run those through, they sell them, they do whatever. But yeah, just never got to it. So.
No, I'm finding with myself that it's faster to just really quickly scribble something with a traditional pencil and then digitize it. Are you finding that? Do you enjoy or note that it's faster to draw traditionally just really quickly, or what? Because erasing digitally has slowed down my workflow with storyboarding or just planning something.
Honestly, I still do enjoy the feel, the feel of the pencil, the paper, like that's the way to go. I once had a younger artist tell me, he goes, I can't draw if my digital stuff is down. I said, get a paper and pencil. He's like, oh, I can't use that. I'm like, that should be the first thing you're using. I said, always traditional, always the basics. You learn that first. I mean, granted, the way kids are growing up nowadays, it's like they're born, like they take to this stuff like fish to water. It's amazing what they can do at such a young age. But there could be that day power's down. Maybe you do. Maybe your tablet breaks. Then what? What are you doing? And you can't afford a new one. And you want to keep making art. And if you can't sit there and draw with a paper and pencil, then you've kind of. I feel like you've kind of failed yourself. You should always learn the basics. I mean, it's just the better. You start there, you work your way up, but you should always, the most amazing digital painter, artist, whatever, you still should know what to do with a pencil. So, my opinion.
Yeah, like I had done this mini comic in pencil, and when I lost power here, there's nothing I can do. I'm just gonna draw. So I just put a little flashlight, and I was actually drawing this, and then once I finished it, I inked it and everything, and I put it in the computer and digitized the whole thing. So
yeah, absolutely. So, what is your either one of you? What's your medium of choice when it's not the computer? What do you like the most?
I like pens and just drawing out pencil traditional and going over with pen. Sometimes I've been liking doing the sketch cards a little bit more, which I kind of slowed down, but I want to get back to it. So I like playing with the markers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about Anna?
I would say definitely
pencil. Yeah.
They're just barely out of reach, but I might as well grab them. I mean,
go ahead.
Oh, this is a robot.
Notes from what I'm working on right now. Yeah. Lots of writing.
Very enough. I didn't see. The various.
Oh, there you go. That's cool.
What is that?
Yeah, I like that. You could do a whole series of robot dinosaurs. People would go nuts for that.
Yep, I'm going for robot dinosaurs definitely, and I got several stories, and one is really more of a series that's kind of cut out for making use of robot dinosaurs a lot. This is
Oh wow.
I'm working on right now. Those are new ones.
Do you do the mirror thing, or do you just do that from like pictures, or are you making funny faces in the mirror and then trying to draw them?
Some of both. Mostly from my own, just kind of looking at expressions that in a mirror, but also my brother. Some of the weirdest expressions here are just from him. He's
Yep.
like, this. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I have there is a page in the current book. I actually have to finish. It's the last thing I have to finish because I need the reference. My brother, I've been trying to convince him. I need him to stand there as like there's several cops surrounding, and Wyatt's laying in the grass. He's naked. And my brother's like, I'm not laying in the grass naked. I'm like, no, you're not laying in the grass naked. I'm not. You're the cops. I said, I'm just gonna have you position, and then you're going to be silhouetted. I said, because I need the angle right. I need the reference shots. I want it to look as accurate as I can. I said, so you're going to be my stand-in for these, and then I'll put you into the book, but it's just silhouette. And he goes, as long as my butt's not out. No, I was like, no, you're not the guy in the grass. You're cool. I said, you're not laying. I said, no, but sometimes it's like reference is key. I mean, sometimes you just cannot. Your phone is just full of you making gnarled hand shapes and angles. Yep. You're always taking pictures of your hands, trying to get the right angle. Yep. Yeah. That's the one. Yeah.
And speaking of robot dinosaurs, I'm also doing one for
there you
Captain
go.
Goggles and Masked Woman comic.
Nice.
This is the second one I'm working on. It's already penciled. I just need to digitize it.
I'll tell you what, the one thing I saw it semi-recently, somebody took the dinosaurs from A Land Before Time and made them into Dinobots. And I was like, oh, man, that was such an awesome idea. And I was like, I wish I had thought of it. And that was one of the coolest things.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, computer paper, the giant stack of computer paper with all the little the stuff that you could tear off the sides with the little punched holes in it so it would go through the old printers. Yeah. I had a huge box of that. And that's what I feel bad about. I have a lot of original art. Like this is one here I just was messing around, recolored it up a little bit. Nothing fancy, but my mom many moons ago worked at this bank, and she brought me home 2 or 3 huge boxes. They were getting rid of it, and it was reams and reams of paper. I still have a full box yet. I've been trying to go through them. So, I mean, it's a heavy gauge paper, and I feel bad when I draw on it because I draw something really nice. I'm like, can I give this to somebody with the letterhead on the back? It's like, I don't care. I'm going to start handing them out with the letterhead. You know, it's like nobody's going to see it, but it's so much paper that I feel like it'd be a terrible waste. But, you know, I got rid of the computer paper and then got that, and it's such great paper for working on, but you just got that letterhead on the back. So if you ever find that, you know, it's one of mine. Leave it as a calling card.
Yeah, to think of it, I've been given some odd stuff over the years that way too. I don't know, it's like a cardstock thing. I got stacks of this cardstock thing, and I think it has a calendar or something on the back.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, but it's good. If it's good paper, yeah, heck with it. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Look at Frazetta, that one. He moved in. I remember that story. He was moving into his house or something, and he forgot he had a painting due, and he took cheesecloth and spackle, and he painted something. I don't know if it was on a piece of drywall or what. I don't remember exactly. Don't quote me the whole story there, but he basically created this fantastic piece of these cavemen in the snowstorm with a cheesecloth and spackle. And he turned it in, and they took it, and that was just amazing to me. That, you know, sometimes you just do what you have. You know, use what you have. Don't worry about what's. You know, there's a calendar on it. Yeah, whatever works. I've had people walk by the table and freak out because I'm coloring with Sharpies. I'm like, well, if I can take a 98-cent black Sharpie and fill in large areas rather than a $4 expensive marker, you're going to do it. Yeah. So you might as well.
I've seen some impressive Sharpie work, actually. I remember
Yeah.
I was at an art show and I stopped. It was a Western art show. And so there's lots of Western art, cowboys, horses. And then there were a couple artists here and there doing exotic animals. And then this one artist in particular, they had sci-fi art and they also had some like Sharpie done black and white images, things like polar bears. And
Mhm.
I was like, that is so cool. You used a Sharpie to do the entire thing?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Those things are versatile. They're pretty, I'll tell you what, they're pretty robust markers
Mm-hmm.
for what they are. I mean, they're supposed to be really used, offices, school, writing stuff down. And it's like, they give some of the best, the black is like some of the best coverage you can get. Because some of them you get that black, it's not that rich, dark black. But the only thing with them is if you're using an alcoholic marker, you will find they do like to bleed, and that's where the sketch cards come into. It's a little tougher to keep stuff like that from bleeding all over the place in those small little areas. So I mean, I use like a Premiere or God, what's the other marker? What's the other pen I use? There's a couple different pens I use that they're not affected by it at all. You do the black all you want and nothing bleeds, nothing's leaking out. But if you're going to use the Sharpie, use something sparingly, and then when you're done with the color, come back with the Sharpie, and it'll be a much cleaner setup. But that's the only drawback I have seen to them. Other than that, they're really solid. I like them. So.
And a note on that: if you have Sharpie in places where you don't want it, using alcohol can remove it.
Yes, very true. Like all over your hands, sometimes on your face.
All over.
Always remember too, markers use proper ventilation. If things start to get a little fuzzy, it's time to crack a window.
Yeah.
So, I have been there where you start to get the headache. It's like, I've been down in this too long. Yeah.
Yeah. You just can't beat how inert a pencil is.
Very true. Yeah, you're not going to get high on a pencil. So, no, I don't care how many times you sniff it. No. Yeah. Maybe the eraser. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never done it. I've just heard stories.
So have you had doing this book or doing any art? Have you ever had like setbacks, things that just kind of like happen,
There was
out of your control?
I don't know if really out of my control. I mean, I do recall at one point, there was a moment where I literally almost closed up shop and was just done. I had worked on a project and I had worked like crazy. Now, looking back on it, it was not your best work, but worked hard. I worked a lot of time on it, put a lot into it. It was a book for a tabletop game. And it was kind of a 80s superhero, more of an 80s nostalgia based. I mean, ahead of its time. Like right now, that thing would probably do really well. But back then, they were just doing it because it was fun. And I remember I got one of the copies and they had removed or hadn't even used like a large portion of my work. They had just they had got these other artists come in. I didn't know about it. They took their stuff, put it over mine. And I just remember like just dejected and down and like, that's it, I'm done. I'm like, I'm not going to keep killing myself and trying to get this stuff done. I'm never going to be good enough. I'm never going to top these people, and I'm just not going to get anywhere. And I think it lasted for maybe about half a day. And then I started to come back, that's how fast it came back around. I'm like, you know what? It's like, no, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to, if you don't want to buy this stuff, fine. You don't have to. It's not for everybody. Not everybody likes your style. Some people love it. That's just the way it is. But at the end of the day, I'm going to create what I love because I want to do it. And that's what I enjoy. And, nobody can stop you from doing that. Even if it's not successful, it's not successful. But you know what? You created something, you made something. And you feel good about that. So you just hope that you create something that, somebody, if one person, tonight they say, hey, I love the book. It was a great read. Fantastic. I'm very happy. I'm glad that, something I created and you read it and you were like, oh, that's actually pretty fun. That's a great idea. That's worth it. That's totally worth it. So you get a
Right.
lot of people, they're always like, is this really worth it? Are you going to make the money? How long, I've been asked, how long are you going to do this before you give up? And I'm like, well, I'm not going to give up. I said, I'm not going to stop. I see a piece of paper. All I want to do is cover it in something. It's just like, it's a creative compulsion for a lot of us, and people that they don't understand it. But, at the same time, you like making stuff. It's enjoyable to you. It's, some people like to golf. I like to fish.
Yeah.
I like to draw robots with giant blasters on their shoulders. I mean, I grew up on it, and yeah. What was your first comic? What's the first comic you ever read? I always like this question.
Ooh.
Let's see. Well, I know you can answer this one.
Sonic comics,
Okay.
Ninja Turtles, some Marvel, a little bit of DC, like Batman.
Now, what year? Like, what time period are we talking?
We're talking early 2000s.
Okay. Yeah, stuff was still pretty solid then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
And also, I'm not sure when the Batman, or let's see. The Spider-Man comics that I read were published in that time frame. The Batman ones were like some kind of a collector comic at that time, early mid 2000s, but it was before that time because my cousin was into it. And really mostly probably Sonic comics, tiny bit of Ninja Turtles, but mostly at the library. Most of what I read was from the library.
That's cool. It's good they had it there too.
And then a little bit of manga later on.
A little bit of what?
Manga.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Manga.
So I never got into that as much. It's good art, but I know so many people are wild about it, and there is some amazing stuff that comes out of there, but just it was never something that I actively pursued, but I do appreciate it. And I like what a lot of people do with it. So
cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, the first comic I remember reading was I think it was a Dennis the Menace comic combined with a Bible story. So someone was telling him about the story of Joseph and the coat. So that story, the story of Joseph already stuck with me, but I thought it was cool that I was reading in comic form. And most of my comics were just stuff that either I found or were given to me, or either giveaways. So in school, when they had the PSA comics, like, and the other kids didn't want them, like, I didn't care if I already had it. Like, okay, yeah, I want all those comics. So I would have like a few copies of the same comic, and it would be a Spider-Man, against smoking, or or stuff like that. So only something with a message, and later on it's just finding the chick tracks. So those were my first introduction to comics, just stuff that I would kind of just find around, and then I realized, there's you can buy them at the store. So there was one that I bought for the first time. I don't remember the title, but it was something about a kid named Ralph, and it was in 3D. So I was like, Mom, like, buy me this comic. I think it was like $2 or $3. And so I carried that around everywhere, and wearing the 3D glasses. I was taking it to school.
Nice.
I remember
I'm almost afraid to tell you what my first comic was then, if that was yours was all nice. And mine was What If the X-Men Lost Inferno?
Dun.
Oh man, that was the one where I was introduced. They had a demon-possessed Wolverine eating a baby. I mean, that book was like, it was brutal. And I remember reading it, and I was in 6th grade, and another classmate had brought it in. He was into comics, and he brought it in, and my eyes were just, I was like, what is this? And I'm freaking out. And I remember I went to the mall, and there was a book show up, and outside was the comic spinner and the Wolverine. I picked up a Spectacular Spider-Man, and a Ghost Rider. And the Wolverine was it's like the second Crunch storyline. 3 issues had Mystique and Spiral in it, and it was a Mark Silvestri, and that was it. My head just exploded. I fell in love with it, and that was my book. I had it with me all over the place. I looked through it 100 times, and from there on, I just started collecting wherever I could, and I started the X-Men from '92. Their revamp with Jim Lee and all them, like, in my opinion, like one of the best teams ever created was the Jim Lee Marvel X-Men there. And great stories, and it just been collecting ever since. So, but yeah, that still holds as not even Inferno was like my intro, but my first real was the Wolverine issue by Silvestri. Like, I just absolutely love the art, love the story. So, yeah, it's neat what you find and what shapes you, and where. Yeah, so, yeah.
Well, I didn't even mention the other comics that were more easily available for me because just of my culture. So there's these. I think it's in English they call them To Anna Bibles. So they're like novel size, like thick novels, and they're illustrated like comics, but they're like professional. Like, it's not goofy, and it's like pulp line art, but it's really detailed. But a lot of them were pornographic. So and those are just easily available for. I mean, you could go to the barber, and there'll be one there, and it could be pornographic, it could be not. It was just kind of like there. It would just tell an adult story, so sometimes there's like stuff like that in there. But like there's like murder, mayhem, love affairs, and like some
some good stuff. Yeah. I mean, that's interesting. I didn't know that. That's neat.
Yeah, I would find them everywhere, and then now I'll just be careful. Like, oh, gotta watch this cover.
What was that shit?
Not that one, kids. Get away.
One that I forgot to mention. I was a big Mega Man fan.
Mega Man did. Cool. Who's that current artist they have working on that? Have you seen those? He's been at the last couple of years. Like, I can't think of what his name is. I met him at Baltimore, and absolutely fantastic Mega Man art. It's like those are really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother's heavy into it. He for his birthday he just got the Mega Man. Was it Mega Man 2 or Mega Man? Which one was the Mega Man that had it was the cover to the video game that looked nothing like Mega Man. Oh, I can't think which one that was, but he got him that as like a giant frame poster, and it's gorgeous. Like, I walked up and I saw it. I'm like, that's what you got. I said, this is fantastic. But he said, my brother is like all about it. And he goes, yeah, that artist, when they told him, they didn't tell him what Mega Man looked like. They just sort of said it's a dude with a gun, a future guy with a gun or something. So this guy just drew it as he thought it would look. I'm pretty sure he's got a handgun too. It's not even, yeah, it's so great though. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, those are some fun. Those are some fun things there. That and what was the other one? The guy who drew Dragon Ball Z did the video game art for it. It's one of those something time. I've completely gone blank on it now.
I like this story. My mother taught me how to read when I was 3 using a comic. I kept asking people to read it to me, and she said it would be easier.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Very nice. Yep.
Nice.
Picture book. That's how I learned.
Berenstain Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Berenstain Bears.
Classic.
Is it Berenstain Bears or Berenstain Bears?
I don't remember. Yeah, I remember there was like that big controversy there too. It was like one of those, like, it was always written like this. It's like, no, actually it wasn't. Oh, and Little Critter. with the little spider and the grasshopper that were always in the stories too. They would sneak them into every story, and I remember being little, we'd try to find the spider and the grasshopper in the illustrations. Yeah, those were some good books.
I'm planning on doing that with a Turaco in each comic that I do.
Yeah, it's good.
Just randomly. Maybe a few other
Which
things. Frank's doing it too.
in this horror one that I did, I snuck in a little Turaco there.
Nice. Yeah, that was something I never got into as well, but I love them. And the horror comics, I think, are really an untapped. I think there needs to be more of that going. I think there's some really cool stories. There's a lot of cool artwork. And I don't know. I think people are kind of like, maybe they're burned out on the more sci-fi and they're going more back toward fantasy. I'm not sure. It's like I said before, we started here. It's really hard to gauge what everyone's going to jump on. I mean, you'd come to a show and you're like, what's going to sell at this show? What's popular right now? And it's like everybody's into Power Rangers, just up one side, down the other. Everybody loved Power Rangers. So I'm like, why? And I saw one of the new the Boom Studios put out those comics, and they were absolutely gorgeous. And you're like, man, the Power Rangers look cool in this book. It's like, how did we go from that that weekday afternoon camp to looking like this? And it's like, that's fantastic. I love it. So, yeah. I mean, it just depends on what somebody's... mashups were a big thing for a while. So you took two characters and you put them together. Or I've seen a lot of the Kickstarter covers. People have been they do cosplay covers. So they take their main character, but then they got them dressed up like Deadpool or Harley Quinn or something. It's like, and I guess it circumvents they can do it because it's a cosplay.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So it's something to think about. Who would you cosplay as?
We are actually a little over the hour mark. We usually go for an hour, so I think we can just wrap up, go around. Where can we find you, Jared?
Well, best place probably Instagram. I'm there at Darkstream Studios, and I've also got at Advent Dark. The same as for Facebook. So I tried to keep it as uniform as I could there. So if you're looking for either one, I'm on those.
All right, and there is a link to one of Jared's Instagram in the description. There's also a link to the Kickstarter, which that's what we're promoting, Advent Dark 2. So you can check that out. And there's also a trailer video from his YouTube video in the description, so you can check all that out. And
please go check it out. Tell your friends, throw a couple bucks toward it. I mean, I'd like to hit 100% here. I think we're gonna be good on 100%, but the more the merrier. The more rewards tiers you can open up is always good for everybody. So all the extra goodies come out. So
cool.
Yep.
Cool.
Anna, where can we find you?
Same places I mentioned earlier.
Linktree.
And at Anna Raub on YouTube, Anna Raub Arts on Instagram. The Linktree has all that stuff. Thank you so much for joining us. I guess still tonight, even though we did move more back. And thank you, Jared, for joining us as well. It was a great
Thank you for having me. Yes, it was a lot of fun. Thank you.
And you can find me also on my Linktree, but I also have the coffee account, Salazar Nation Designs, where if you donate, you can get some pretty cool PDF comics. And this horror comic, you can find it on my Gumroad, and there's a description in the link. It's called For Your Tomorrow, and you can get that absolutely free. You don't have to pay me anything for that one. You can just grab it and take it. And thanks, Aaron, for coming out. I want to thank Judd. Judd said he backed you. So that's
yes, he did. I greatly appreciate it. I did see that, and I always appreciate it. Yeah, that means somebody cares.
Quake Woman
All right.
from
All right. And
the Archie ones.
thanks for coming out, guys. We'll see
All right.
you